Y'all, Warren has officially lost her ever-loving mind. Just the whole entire mind. Bruh, she's done. She's done now. Hopefully. Hopefully. You know what? I'm not quite so sure. But we're going to talk about it anyway. Thanks for watching. Oh, man. So this Warren-Bernie fiasco has gotten very much so out of hand for a plethora of reasons. But first, the first thing we're going to discuss is something that I just found out about. I had heard rumors about this email, but you know, for some reason, I know I fell victim to what I always complain about, which is for some reason I gave Elizabeth Warren the benefit of the doubt. I tried to make her smarter than she actually is. I just knew in my heart and soul that when people were telling me that Elizabeth Warren was claiming that Bernie was deliberately sending staffers or telling staffers to attack her, like when people were telling me that, I was like, there's no way. She has to know that is a dumb move. She has to know that, right? Why did I think that? Whenever I know for a fact, historically, this woman, Elizabeth Warren, always makes politically stupid calculations, and yet, here we are. And in case you think that I'm bullshit, let me go ahead and pull this up for you. In case you think I'm bullshit. Let's look at this letter. Last night, we got some disappointing news. Bernie Sanders' campaign is instructing volunteers to dismiss our broad-based, inclusive campaign by saying the people who support Elizabeth Warren are highly educated, more affluent people. This is a statistical reality, by the way. Actually, I believe it was either Crystal or Sagar. One of them two did it they did a segment on this on the rise. Actually, I think it was both of them. It was one of the segments for both of them, where they exposed the fact that Bernie and Elizabeth Warren's base are more dissimilar than most would like to think. Now, the email goes on to say, when I heard that description, I didn't recognize it. That doesn't describe me or any of my passionate volunteers or organizers I know. It just describes all the people you said yourself you're going to take money from once you get into the general, or if you got into the general, which is looking less and less likely to happen now, by the way. It says, this type of attack isn't about disagreeing on the issue. It's about dismissing the potency of our grassroots movement. Ooh, these some strong words. Let's be clear. As a party and as a country, we can't afford to repeat the factionalism of the 2016 primary. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Oh, sweet baby Jesus, Buddha, and Allah. I know she did not just say that. I know she didn't just say that. We can't afford to repeat the factionalism of the 2016 primary to win in November. We need a nominee who can unite a broad coalition of Democrats, not everybody, just the Democrats, who will excite every part of the Democratic Party and inspires more people to join the fight. Damn. Wow. I'm just like, my eyes keep going back to the line where she had the audacity to say we can't afford to repeat the factionalism of the 2016 Democratic primary. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, do we want to talk about the factionalism of the 2016 Democratic primary? You know what the factionalism of the 2016 Democratic primary led to? It led to superdelegates literally voting against the will of their entire states, where Bernie would win an entire, in their entirety, go over to Hillary Clinton for that state. completely ignoring the will of the voters. You know what factionalism looks like? Calling Bernie Sanders a sexist in 2016, knowing goddamn well that was never the case. Calling all of his supporters racist, sexist, misogynist, Bernie bros, whatever you want to call them. Knowing what makes it even worse is how the factionalism led to, because I love how she's throwing out some buzzwords in there. We're going to get to that in a second. The factionalism led to, well, Bernie isn't even a real Democrat. Bro, what is that then? What if that's not factionalism? What the hell is the definition of factionalism? And you know what's a better question, ladies and gentlemen? And it's the same question that we've been asking every single day that we discuss Elizabeth Warren. Where the hell was Elizabeth Warren at when all this factionalism was taking place? Because your indifference in 2016 was a choice. You made a choice to be indifferent during one of the most pivotal times in history. Now we have 3 candidates right now, right? 3 candidates that were all, I would say, ever present during the 2016 election in various ways. You got Bernie Sanders, who ignited and started the movement. You have Tulsi Gabbard, who joined the movement, sacrificing her position with the Democratic Party to call out the cheating that was taking place. Oh, the factionalism that you were talking about. I want to make sure we use that word. I want to make sure you understand what we're talking about so I don't confuse you, Warren. The factionalism that you were talking about, Tulsi agreed. Tulsi had a problem with it, and Tulsi stood up to it. Now, Elizabeth Warren had the opportunity to stand up to that same factionalism, but instead, what did she decide to do? She decided to get vetted by the very person pushing the factionalism to her benefit in the 2016 Democratic primary election, who, of course, ultimately lost and stabbed Elizabeth Warren in the back and picked Tim Kaine instead. That factionalism that you're talking about, remember, that's what stopped you from running, because Bernie Sanders begged you to run in 2015. And you refused to because Hillary Clinton was running, and Democratic factionalism, that was what stopped you from running. Because you knew you had to be well liked within the party, because the party will cheat you otherwise. And if you stand up to their chosen one, you will be ostracized forever. And instead of using your clout and your brand at the time to challenge that notion, you instead went along with it, thinking it was going to benefit your career. So the fact that you have the audacity to bring up the factionalism in 2016 and how our country can't afford it anymore. Listen here, Muff. Let me excuse my language, okay? Listen. You don't get to tell us something we've already known. How long have we been preaching we can't afford to repeat the factionalism, or a word that we more readily identify, the tribalism of 2016, because our planet literally can't afford it right now. Literally cannot afford it. I know some people are like, oh man, the US isn't in control of everything. We can't be so. No, bro, you're not understanding. Every decision the US makes has a reverberating effect on the entire planet. When I say we can't afford the tribalism of 2015, 2016 again, I don't mean that shit conjecturally. I don't mean it as a matter of opinion. I am saying, if you've seen where our world is headed, if you've seen where our politics are headed, if you've seen the lack of accountability and the lack of willingness to speak up for corruption, if you've seen our economy, okay, like, it is not stable. Our economy is not stable. The GDP is doing fantastic. Income inequality is still trash. But everybody, hey man, if you want 2 part-time jobs, that's easier than ever to get. Good luck buying a house with that, and good luck getting approved for a legitimate loan with it. We literally couldn't, let's be real about it, right? We couldn't afford the factionalism in 2016 either. But hey, Warren didn't actually say anything about it then. She didn't care. She was more concerned about her career. Hold on, what did I just see? What did I just see? Niko, have a look at Twitter. Warren just made her statement stating that Bernie did in fact say that a woman couldn't win. Oh my God. Give me a whole second. You know what we about to do? We about to explore this together. Hold up. We're going to pull this right up for us. We're going to explore this together. That's some breaking news for me. Hello, baby Jesus. Oh, man. Oh, man. Somebody take Elizabeth Warren's phone away. That's what needs to happen. Hold up. I'm pulling up Twitter right now, people. I know I don't believe it either. I'm like, I don't want to call man's a liar, but low baby Jesus, that is a, oh man. I mean, I do not believe that Bernie said that for reasons I'm about to talk about, but we gonna have this conversation. I don't believe, it's hard to believe that Warren would say that. Oh my God. Emma Vigilant, instead of critiquing Warren, you know what she says instead? How could CNN publish this? None of the sources were in the meeting. Not, why hasn't Warren unequivocally denied this? Hey, we're going to talk about that too. I'm looking for Elizabeth Warren. Oh, this is from Ed O'Keefe, 26 minutes ago. Oh my God. Well, I guess we're going to read this together. Bernie and I met for more than 2 hours in December 2018 to discuss the 2020 election, our past work together, and our shared goals. Beating Donald Trump, taking back our government from the wealthy and connected, and building an economy that works for everybody. Oh my God, are you really giving your elevator pitch right now? Anyway, among the topics that came up was what would happen if Democrats nominated a female candidate. I thought a woman could win. He disagreed. I have no interest in discussing this private meeting any further because Bernie and I have far more in common than this motherfucker. Oh my God. Oh, I can't stand people like this. Because Bernie and I have far more in common than our differences on punditry. I'm in the race to talk about what's broken in this country and how to fix it. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. I know Bernie is in the race for the same reason. We've been friends and allies in this fight for a long time. And I have no doubt we will continue to work together to defeat Donald Trump and put our government on the side of the people. Well, you heard it here first, bro. You heard it here first. Yo, do you know what that is called? Do you know what that is called? That is called gaslighting. That is the very definition of gaslighting. That was the most slimy, oh my God. You know, I don't have a lot of kind words for Donald Trump, y'all. I really don't. He says some dumb, he does. He says some dumb shit. He's an egomaniacal douchebag. But what Elizabeth Warren just did should cut Bernie Sanders deeper than any insult Donald Trump has slung his way. I truly believe that. What she just did, because I love how she left that part out, right? She left the part out where Bernie Sanders begged her to run in 2015. Why the hell would Bernie Sanders beg her to run in an election that he didn't think she could win? I love how she tries to fluff it up and puff it up. This is Y'all are gonna be mad at me, but I'm just gonna keep it a band. This is white feminism in a nutshell. You start the problems, you start the drama, then you play the fucking victim. That's what happens. When you can't win on the substance, you can't debate on the substance, you can't win over voters on the substance, you can't win over progressives on the substance, you can't even come with your own damn policies. This is what you do. You turn yourself into the victim somehow, and then put on your little nice girl bonnet. Oh, but I just want to be friends and get along with everybody because I'm really nice and likable. Man, can we have a real conversation? Can we have a real conversation, people? Cory Booker dropped out of this race today, right? Good riddance. But I wanna actually apologize because I made a statement earlier that although might mostly be true, there should have been a few caveats to my statement. I said that Cory Booker, being a farmer hooker, is the reason that he is no longer in this race. I said that his coziness with Wall Street is why he is no longer in this race. His ideological and moral inconsistencies are why he's no longer in this race, and in his his platitudes and philosophy with zero policy, that's why he's no longer in this race. But the thing that has nothing to do with the fact that he's no longer in this race is his race. It's him being black. And I want to amend that statement because there should be a caveat. And I shouldn't say that's not why he's in the race, by the way. And here's why I say that. I want you to take a good hard look at Cory Booker and Elizabeth Warren. I want you to seriously consider this. There is not anything that Cory Booker has done within the last 3 years. We want to keep it within a span of 3 years, okay? There is not a single thing that Cory Booker has done that is singularly worse than Elizabeth Warren pretending to be Native American, profiting off of the plight of the indigenous, and then throwing them under the bus all within 3 years. Okay? Cory Booker's done some horrible things. He's never pretended to be another ethnicity to profit off of them and then threw them under the bus. Granted, throwing black people under the bus a lot, but he's black and that happens to us a lot. But what policy idea or lack thereof was worse than Elizabeth? What was Elizabeth Warren offering that Cory Booker was not offering, had not agreed with, or had not signed on to in the Senate with her? He agreed about public education and cutting student loan debt and free public college. They agreed there. For the most part, they agreed on immigration. They almost had the exact same speeches, actually. Canned speeches from the Democrats. They always talk about unity, and the most important thing is beating Donald Trump. They're both tacit in their support of Medicare for all. I mean, when you really break it down, how is Cory Booker that much different than Elizabeth Warren? How was Julian Castro even, who was probably better than Elizabeth Warren in a lot of ways, if we're being real, right? We don't know enough about him to make that judgment call, but I'm only saying that if we're looking at it from a casual observer's view, Julian Castro was better as a candidate. If I'm not as super nerdy and political like I am, he was better as a candidate than Elizabeth Warren is. And even Kamala, worse than Elizabeth Warren? Yeah, a little bit. But when we're thinking about it realistically, she had been propped up so much more than Elizabeth Warren that there's really no reason that she should be out of the race while Elizabeth Warren's still in. Willem Rupenshire, Elizabeth Warren, I want to stab her in the back, but I still want his supporters to like me. Warren, what an evil, selfish slimeball. HRC 2.0. Yep, that's what I said. I've been saying that. I've been saying Elizabeth Warren reminded me she is Hillary Clinton without the conviction and without the connections, but she still is all about her personal career. So she's usable, and because of that, she is more dangerous to a degree. Mostly because she has no backbone, so she can be pushed around even more. But my point is that if we're being 100% honest with ourselves, we really have to begin. If what I am saying is true, if you accept this as true, right, that there really isn't that much policy difference between, at least at the bare minimum, Warren, Booker, and Castro, then you then have to ask the question, well, how the hell is Elizabeth Warren still in this race, but Cory Booker and Castro were rightfully forced to drop out? Why is it that Elizabeth Warren was ever number one or number two in the polls when Cory Booker and Castro offering basically the same policies, basically the same platitudes, but with Castro, he had significantly less skeletons in his closet, and then Booker had, once again, never done anything singularly worse than what Elizabeth Warren did with the indigenous community. I can compare, by the way, we can go back and forth, and I can show you that even beyond that, Cory Booker, there were things that he did that were bad, and Elizabeth Warren, things that Elizabeth Warren did that were bad, but Warren was still called a progressive. We have to genuinely ask ourselves, how did we end up in a position where somehow Booker is bounced for basically being Elizabeth Warren? Julian Castro is bounced for being Elizabeth Warren. And it isn't like Elizabeth Warren was close to them and it was on that cusp of being bounced, right? That wasn't the case. In fact, she was saying almost the exact same things, and she got thrusted to the top and celebrated as a progressive. Why was Cory Booker then not celebrated as a progressive by some of those progressive voices who uplifted Elizabeth Warren to their second pick? And they say, they'll once again rightfully argue, well, he's a pharmaceutical hooker. Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I'm not going to argue with you. He should not be popular, largely because of that decision and decisions prior to and after that. Okay. Julian Castro has also made it clear that he's a neoliberal through little dog whistles here and there. But to figure out that Julian Castro is a neoliberal, you had to hyper-scrutinize him because his record was not extensive enough to figure it out on its face. You had to be overly critical and scrutinize him to a degree that, once again, now becomes questionable. Because the people who could tell you very clearly so that Julian Castro and Cory Booker were neoliberals didn't even attempt to hyper-scrutinize Elizabeth Warren. And because of that, we're led to believe, and led others to believe, that she's an ally to the progressive movement, that she's an ally to Bernie Sanders, and even more disgustingly so, that she was more progressive than Tulsi Gabbard. Really? And then those same people, by the way, were trying to sow distrust for Tulsi Gabbard in the movement, using comparison and contrast between Tulsi and Elizabeth Warren like there wasn't even a choice. Coincidentally enough, the other person of color in this conversation. So you have a black man, a Latino, and a Polynesian woman who are all being hyper-scrutinized as Elizabeth Warren has been given pass after damn that. She wasn't just given a pass. She was uplifted. She was uplifted. And I want to be very clear about something. And this is not to shame or attack anybody, except for maybe Anna and Emma. But other than that, There are people who genuinely believed what they said. Okay? There are people who genuinely, but it's because they didn't hyper scrutinize. That's why, this is what I'm saying. But why didn't they choose to hyper scrutinize? Well, they didn't feel the need to. Well, why wouldn't you feel the need to? If we're just looking at just the 2016 election alone, why wouldn't you feel the need to hyper scrutinize Elizabeth Warren? That's the first thing I thought about doing when she announced. Well, I mean, she's likable. I like her. Well, Cory Booker's actually more likable. I actually, if I didn't know Cory Booker was a neoliberal shill, I would like Cory Booker more than I would like Elizabeth Warren. If I didn't know Julian Castro was a neoliberal shill, I would think he's funnier. You know, he would kind of rub me the wrong way because I feel like he's kind of cocky sometimes. But like, I think that's just his youthful exuberance. And I would still like him. I find him more likable and more relatable than Elizabeth Warren. But I felt the need to scrutinize all of them equally. But the people who celebrated Warren as their second most progressive, hyper scrutinized Julian Castro and made it obvious he was a neoliberal. Cool. Hyper scrutinized Booker, made it obvious he was a neoliberal. Cool. But then skipped over Warren and began to hyper scrutinize Tulsi. Once again, 3 people of color, 1 black man, 1 Polynesian, 1 Latino, and a white woman. So, this is why I have to amend my statement. I have to amend my statement because it was insensitive of me to imply that Cory Booker being black had absolutely nothing to do with how things ultimately ended for him. Was it the primary reason he was bounced? Absolutely not. But do you think if Cory Booker was given the opportunity to recover and make up for his sins of the past, like Elizabeth Warren was, that he couldn't have capitalized on the opportunities like Elizabeth Warren did? And the reason I say Elizabeth Warren, and I'm not using like Biden, for example. Hell, you could even make an argument. Oh, you know what? Now, granted, nobody called Pete Buttigieg a progressive, but there's still an argument to be made outside of the progressive movement that the neoliberals would somehow think that Pete Buttigieg is more electable than Cory Booker, when I, as an objective observer, can tell you for a fact that's not true. The man literally told the black people in South Bend to fuck off. He didn't care. I don't need your vote. Don't vote for me. That's what he said. But even the neoliberals, they've been propping up Buttigieg as their champion more so than Cory Booker, even though Cory Booker, if you're looking at it without your rose-colored glasses, is more electable than Pete Buttigieg is. If we're being real. I'm not saying that I would vote for him. I'm not saying that he's a progressive. I'm saying that he's more electable than that tier of competition, the neoliberal tier of competition. So if we're going to take this even a level deeper, we then have to ask ourselves, how long have we've been talking about Elizabeth Warren for how long? I know a lot of y'all came in January, and so y'all know we've been talking about her at least since January. At least. Okay? January, February time frame. And that was when we started going in on it. We've done coverage of Elizabeth Warren and her inconsistencies over time and over the last 3 years. But for this election, you know, we've been covering her from the beginning and telling the truth about her, and we got attacked for it here. And it is what it is. It's fine. Whatever. It's part of the game. MCSC Network's motto is, it's hard being right about everything 6 months in advance. I think Fiorella came up with it. It was actually a really good one. But we really, for on a serious note, we have to really ask ourselves these tough questions because it defines this movement going forward. And unless we're going to be willing to have these conversations, then there's no point in having a movement because it's not going to last long anyway. Only intersectional, decentralized movements last. That's why the anti-war movement did at one point last as long as it did. And then thankfully for Medea Benjamin, she did a damn good job leading the way and trying to reignite it. But that anti-war movement included the Black Panthers, included the quote unquote hippies, Black people, white people, young people, old people. It was decentralized, and they didn't just fight against war, they fought against capitalism. They fought against sexism. They fought against racism. It all went hand in hand. Because they actually addressed the tough questions instead of pretending as if none of these issues existed. And that's why we have to ask these questions today. So the question I pose to you, especially if you're one of those people who believed in Elizabeth Warren, even if you didn't think she was better than Bernie, you still had her as your second. You still had her as a progressive. The question I'm going to ask to you is, we know that Elizabeth Warren threw indigenous people under the bus. A lot of people didn't know that she also threw Palestinians under the bus. People don't know that. She literally said that Israel needs to face the demographic reality that there are too many Palestinian babies being born in the country. That wasn't even, I don't think that was the worst thing she said in the interview. That's what makes it bad. And I mean, you know her record on the issue, so I really don't have to go into more detail about that. Before this election, she's never seen a war she didn't like. Never seen a military budget she didn't vote for. At the same time, and I want to be very clear about this, at the same time as people were caping for her, this is the most important part. They were attacking Tulsi, who is a progressive who was actually sacrificed. Hyper-scrutinizing Cory Booker, who is very similar to Elizabeth Warren. They're separated by maybe this much. And they were hyper-scrutinizing Julian Castro. Once again, I'm using them as examples because they're two people of color, one a black man, who dropped out because they were being hyper-scrutinized, as they should have been. Why did it take until Elizabeth Warren screwed over the old white guy for people to finally realize, oh wow, she is actually no better than Cory Booker? My bad, I didn't know. There was literally no other sign. And y'all know when I say the old white guy, I just mean that generally, because obviously Bernie is a special kind of old white guy who got some, he got some time in fighting for civil rights. So clearly I'm not trying to minimize what he has done. I'm just saying, if you don't attach Bernie Sanders' name to it, because there are two progressives in this race. Some people, Yang is but nonetheless, there are two progressives in this race that I can say that I trust as progressives for various reasons. That is unquestionably Tulsi Gabbard and Bernie Sanders. And yet, there were people, Emma Vigilant, and I quote, "I used to love Tulsi Gabbard's interventionist policies until I realized it was our anti-interventionist policies. Until I realized it's because she hates Muslims." This is what Tulsi Gabbard has had to deal with. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Warren, it's a bummer that she's for, not for Medicare for all, but look at her record. She's definitely a progressive for sure. And it may not have been that sad if it wasn't only Emma. If it was only Emma Vigilant, if it was only Anna Kasparian, maybe we're having a different conversation. But because it was not, and anybody who argues otherwise is full of shit, we really need to look ourselves in the face as a movement. Why did it take until Elizabeth Warren went after the quote unquote old white guy for people to care about what Elizabeth Warren has done? And let me be very clear about something. And this is no offense to you all. I appreciate you all having this coming to Jesus moment. I genuinely appreciate it, because we still need to get to the finish line, even if we stumble along the way, and even if we disagree sometimes about how we get there. We still got to get to the end of the finish line with respect, dignity, and aloha, okay? But with that being said, most of you all are still only upset because she attacked Bernie Sanders. That is the only reason. Primarily because this is the second time it's happened, and this is after Bernie defended her, even though she didn't stand up for him in 2016. Most of you all are only upset with Elizabeth Warren because she attacked your chosen one. I'm upset with Elizabeth Warren also because she attacked Bernie Sanders, as with many who agree with me and have agreed with me over the last year. But if your opinion about her changed today, this is something that you can be mad, you can be, no, that's fucking bullshit. Like, bro, listen, I'm not coming at you. I'm just you have to be real with yourself. I can't do that for you. I can only present to you as a black man. As a black man with a platform, and a black man who's been blessed enough to articulate these points in a way that people can understand them, I have a responsibility, especially to this movement, to show you my observations, hope you receive them willingly, and hope that we can grow as a movement together because of it. So don't take it offensively. From what I am saying to you, don't take it offensively. But let's be clear. There are a lot of people within the Bernie Sanders movement specifically who were perfectly fine with Elizabeth Warren using and abusing the plight of indigenous people, perfectly fine with her stance on Israel and Palestine, perfectly fine with her clearly flip-flopping on Medicare for all, perfectly fine with her pro-war vote, perfectly fine with about lying about getting fired for being pregnant. She lied about that. Perfectly fine with her working for companies that try to stop women for suing for defective breast implants. She was working against the women. They were perfectly fine with all of that. If you were not lividly pissed at Warren to the point where she was not an option for you, if you weren't that, you were necessarily, at bare minimum, okay with everything else that she had done. Because the information at this point is, you were fine with the fact that she said she was going to take big money in the general election. Forgot about that. That was one of the first things we learned about her. Fine with the fact that she disingenuously claimed that she was not going to be taking anything but individual grassroots donations, and she transferred $10 million from her Senate campaign where she took the money in advance from corporations. You were fine with that. But necessarily, if you jumped off the Warrens of Progressive train today, I had some critiques about her, but I still think she's really progressive and she's still my second choice. I'm not talking about that, bro. I'm talking about you have still been calling her a progressive. And you jumped off that train today. Necessarily, you were fine with every other issue that Elizabeth Warren had. Krillin 876, thanks for the super chat. Literally stole someone's affirmative action. Really? I didn't know that. I did not know she stole somebody's affirmative action job. That's crazy. Not surprised though. Not surprised. Oh yeah, you're talking about the Harvard job. Yeah, absolutely. Facts. Those are facts. Now, you then, if you are one of those people, and by the way, I want to be real with you. I think I've seen maybe one or two black people that were okay with Warren. Like they exist, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying like in the I'm judging right now, I'm in the microcosm of progressive politics. That's what I'm talking about right now, in the microcosm. And y'all instead watching my dumb ass. That's who I'm talking about. Y'all don't even give a shit that the NCAA championship is tonight because y'all are here listening to me complain about Elizabeth Warren, the progressive movement. Y'all are who I'm talking about. At the end of the day, hold up 1 second. There we go. At the end of the day, we now have to have a different conversation. We have to, and it's probably even more important than the election. Bigger than Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, bigger than all of that. See, I take being a progressive and I take that label very, very seriously. And I live by the name that Tim Canova chose for his nonprofit, which is Progress for All. Progress for All. Necessarily, in order for you to have considered Elizabeth Warren a progressive, I don't care if you call her second choice, that's not. In order for you to have considered Elizabeth Warren a progressive, necessarily you would have to have not given a shit about what she did to the indigenous people in this country. Am I right or am I wrong? In order for you to have considered her a progressive, because we have a literal cutoff date, because now everybody like, oh no, she's not a progressive. What the hell? No, I never. Yeah, now you feel that way. Now, after she attacked Bernie, that means you're mad at her because of Bernie, because of the other guy you love so much. But you have way more reason to love. But you had to at the very bare minimum be okay with the way she treated indigenous people. I always make a joke. I always say that Elizabeth Warren is the indigenous American Rachel Dolezal, except for because at least Rachel Dolezal actually cared about black people. She was like helping out the the NAACP and everything. She actually cared about black people. She never threw black people under the bus. She started her own black business and hired black women. Like, as much of a problem I have with Rachel Dolezal did, she had more integrity and more values than Elizabeth Warren did. Elizabeth Warren profited off indigenous Americans and threw them under the bus for the world to see. Let the workers work. I don't give a damn if a young woman lost her eye. I don't give a damn if a young woman lost her arm. Let the workers work. That's what Elizabeth Warren said. You had to be okay with that. You were okay with the way the indigenous were treated at Standing Rock and the way that Elizabeth Warren handled that situation. You had to be, and you have to face that. And ask yourself what positive about Elizabeth Warren was so great that you were okay with her saying, fuck you to the Native American people of this country. Anna Bird retired. Thanks for the super chat. One, it pisses me off so much that they lumped her and Bernie in together. I 100% agree. We've been preaching that. I did a whole video about that. I actually had a video. Well, the first time we ever covered it extensively was after the Democratic convention when Fiorella I saw the convention, has me scared that she is the Bernie Sanders spoiler, and she was one. Where Elizabeth Warren is the biggest threat to Bernie Sanders' campaign. I remember that. And when I did that video, some people took to it. Some people were open-minded. But if I'm being honest, the majority of people were not. And it was to be expected. It was to be expected. And because they had already been conditioned, they had all their favorite commentators. All their favorite commentators had already agreed that Elizabeth Warren's progressive. How could Niko, with far less subscribers, how could the MCSC network with far less subscribers dare challenge my 400,000 follower gods and goddesses? They have big networks that back every opinion they give. They're all singing the same praises in unison. If they all agree, then they can't be wrong because, hey, everybody knows throughout American history, the majority never gets it wrong. Throughout American history, the majority has never gotten it wrong, right? Yeah, you would be wrong on that. Unfortunately, throughout American history, Unfortunately, throughout American history, the majority always gets it wrong, or gets it wrong majority of the time, I should say. The reason that I say we have to address this is because I want to just be blatant and clear. White progressives got it wrong on Elizabeth Warren. And as a movement, we need to be self-reflective and ask why we were so quick to accept the opinions of those progressives who so easily dismissed the plight of the people that Elizabeth Warren threw under the bus, and were quick to forgive her, while somehow not being able to reconcile that maybe Cory Booker had a change of heart. They can make excuses and talk about the growth of literally a former Republican. With all the problems with Cory Booker, he was never a Republican. I'm talking about from the scope of being a Democrat. Like, with all the problems with Cory Booker, he was not a literal Republican. Right or wrong? We have a problem in the progressive movement that I truly hope this conversation helps people, actually begin to acknowledge. Now, outside of Pasta, because Pasta is with us and we talk and all that stuff, and we got it, together we came up with the conclusions. But there was even Pasta, even if you're not including Pasta, me and Fiorella, obviously I'm a black man, Fiorella's Peruvian. We were so out the gate, we could see what was wrong with Elizabeth Warren. Out of the progressive, quote unquote, circle, if you will. Out the gate, there was no defense, there was no equivocation. There was not even a thought in our minds that Elizabeth Warren was an ally to this movement. And it was very clear and easy for us to see, but also me and Fiorella are extra sensitive to the plight of people of color, and especially for me, for black people. Like, I can't pretend to not see what I saw with Elizabeth Warren over the last 3 years. I just can't unsee that. I couldn't. Fiorella couldn't either. And some people thought we were like deranged for it. And for us, imagine how confused we were. We're like, it's so obvious. What are you talking about? And then for Fiorella, a woman of color, seeing Tulsi treated one way as a woman of color, while Warren was given a complete and total pass. Oh, bruh, y'all don't know how pissed she gets about that. This is a woman who volunteers for Bernie Sanders. This is a woman who beats the pavement, knocks on doors for Bernie Sanders, who posts cardboard cutouts saying that Bernie Sanders has been her boyfriend since 2015. Nobody tell her that it's a cardboard cutout, and Bernie Sanders has never dated her and has been married for a very long time. Don't tell her that. She might bite your head off. But this is a woman who is firmly behind Bernie Sanders for president, and she could even see, because of her plight, because of her past, that has given her vision to see what was happening. She could see that there was something seriously wrong with the way the progressive movement responded to Tulsi announcing versus the way that it responded to Elizabeth Warren announcing. It was lighthearted. Like, people were like lightheartedly, yeah, whatever, Elizabeth, that's cute, Warren. You're a progressive, you're an ally, but you have no chance to beat Bernie, and we know you're still bad on a lot of issues, but I guess you can come along. When Tulsi announced, it was, how dare you ever have the audacity to run while Bernie Sanders is running, even though he hasn't even announced yet. Yeah. Where do those videos come from? No, that's not what Anna Kasparian did. Actually, when Warren announced, Anna Kasparian did a whole no filter defending Elizabeth Warren being a Republican. Dap the Vegan, thanks for the super chat. Bro, imagine if Tulsi had went after Bernie because his supporters have been smearing her and calling her all kinds of names, Islamophobe, Hindu fascist, etc. They would have canceled her in a heartbeat. 100. They cancel her even though she said nothing but oh, she's a closet Republican. She's a fascist sympathizer. She's an Islamophobe. Tulsi has shown nothing but love for Bernie Sanders because that friendship is genuine. And I got to give a shout out to Nina Turner too, because Nina Turner never let that deter her friendship and her sisterhood with Tulsi, no matter how much people try to turn them against each other. And I've said, and I still stand by this, and I believe this even more today. The reason that Nina Turner is given as much of a pass as she is, because she has a past too. She admits it. She talks about her evolution that she's experienced with Tulsi because of how they linked up for Bernie in 2016. But if it was Nina who announced against Bernie this year, she would have gotten it too. And because of her being a black woman, she might have gotten it worse. And there is nothing that anyone could say to convince me otherwise. They would, how dare you, Nina, after everything Bernie has done for you, how dare you run against Bernie Sanders? She would have gotten it worse. And that's a fact. That is not opinion, that is not conjecture, that is a fact. And I'm sure Nina is not naive to this. I mean, let's observe, shall we? Why was Jeff Weaver made the chairman of our revolution or the president of our revolution before Nina was? Because now we have enough history to tell. Our revolution almost didn't survive under Jeff Weaver. The moment Nina took over, when she was clearly, if you had been paying attention, the most qualified person for the job at the time, they took off. They became instantly successful. But she was passed up the first time. And there was actually a big controversy within our revolution to get Nina as the president. Y'all don't know that. That's that insider stuff for you. I know a little bit. I know a little bit about a lot. I don't know everything, okay? But I know a little bit about a lot, all right? There was a whole situation in our revolution to make sure that Nina Turner was president and to get Jeff Weaver out. And they were absolutely right for doing so. So if you think that Tulsi got it bad, and I would even think that she would acknowledge this. I think that Tulsi would even acknowledge, Nina would have got it. And it's precisely because of all the things we have been talking about this video. It's precisely because of everything we talked about this video. Tulsi was always an ally. Nina, of course, always an ally. Warren, I mean, and it's what's once again, we have history to show Tulsi was always an ally. We have history. We don't have to guess. It's not conjecture. She had always been an ally to Bernie Sanders. Even when Bernie disagreed with her on Syria in 2015, 2016, and they tried to use that to kind of split them up. And Tulsi says, he has his opinion, I have mine, but there's a bigger picture we have to be talking about here. And I stand with Bernie still. Notice how she didn't attack him? They can never get her to attack Bernie Sanders. They can never knock her off her center. She had always proven to be an ally. Nina, of course, has always proven to be an ally to both. Warren has always proven to be a snake. And once again, we have to have a real conversation about why the hell it was okay for her to betray not just Bernie, because even Bernie will tell you it's not just about him, but this woman betrayed the entire progressive movement. And even when she betrayed the entire progressive movement because she was really nice about it the whole time, everybody was like, she's just really bad at political calculations. It's okay. It's cool. Whatever. It's fine. It's whatever. We have to move on. 2016 was so long ago. Y'all, a lot of you all were not concerned until she went after that man. She went after that man. And as livid as I am that she went after that man for a lot of reasons that had nothing to do with race or anything like that, being a black man, seeing what I saw, observing what I observed, understanding what I personally, y'all don't even know half the shit I experienced in this movement. The racism, the implicit racial bias that people of color go through. Just ask all the black women in the progressive commentator circle. Oh, that's right. You can't because they don't exist because they never get opportunities. They never get opportunities. Unless they already have a platform backing them. That's why I have a lot of respect for Bree. But even Bree came from a professional journalism background. So she was verified, you know what I'm saying? Not just with the blue check mark, but okay, we can trust her. It's real. But nobody's ever wanted to acknowledge it. And these people, there are people out there, I'm not going to say any names. But because I'm not really as concerned with the names as I am with the message that I hope you all are understanding and internalizing. There are people out there who, instead of engaging in a healthy debate with you about a disagreement, just a political disagreement, instead what they do is they know that they have their shield of whiteness. They know this. So they'll say, oh, you're not worth my time. Oh, why would I need to engage with you? Y'all shouldn't listen. He's just stupid. She's just stupid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. If I make a claim like that about anybody else, I don't say people are stupid, but if I say, for example, Anna Kasparian was wrong about Tulsi Gabbard being an Islamophobe, I then have to proceed to explain in great detail with facts and receipts as to why Anna Kasparian is wrong, and I am making the claim that Anna does not know what she's talking about regarding a specific subject. However, when Anna wanted to attack me, what did she say? Oh my God, you're just defending Tulsi because she said something nice about you one time. And there were way too many people okay with that. I'm gonna tell you about a personal experience from me. It was either David Doe or Michael Brooks. We were having a disagreement over something. I'm pretty sure it was about Tulsi. It was like a lie they told about Tulsi. Something regarding foreign policy. And I made it very clear. Y'all know how I am. Bro, let's just debate. What? We both have cameras. We both have platforms. Why the hell do I need to stand on Twitter going back and forth with you with 280 characters so you can gaslight and dismiss what you don't want to address, et cetera, et cetera? Let's just debate. Now, if one of them tried to debate me and I said no, oh, Niko's scared. Oh, he isn't intelligent enough to debate them. That's why he doesn't want to do it. Oh, he can't stand by his word. But I was like, bro, let's just debate. I don't understand what's so difficult about this. Oh, what, you want to debate me? Oh, you want to challenge me to a debate? Oh, that's so stupid. Oh, how stupid are you to want to debate your opinion on a topic? What do you think? You understand the subject or something? Fucking stupid. Never actually having to justify why they are refusing to debate. No one ever challenging them on why they won't debate. In fact, people with platforms will defend them for not debating after making very incendiary claims, very incendiary personal claims that allude to someone being less intelligent than them. There are people who think for some reason that making in-depth concept, Mike Figueredo thought for some reason that making in-depth content was an insult to me. He said, "Oh, what are you?" He just said something. Somebody tagged me, and then I responded to it, and then he was like, "Oh, what are you gonna do? Make a 60-minute video about it?" I'm like, "Yeah, if that's what's necessary to get the information out accurately in the way that people understand it." I don't understand that that's supposed to be an insult. Miss IA Justice, thank you very much for the super chat. But I'm not even saying this. I'm not even having this discussion to attack any of them, because they are them and that is what they is. The problem is, how are they getting away with it? How are they so confident that they can get away with it? The same way that Elizabeth Warren is so confident that she could throw Bernie under the bus once, throw the indigenous people under the bus another time, throw women and their movement under the bus another time, throw Democrats under the bus by pretending she was never really Republican, and still be considered a progressive amongst progressives. That's how. The same cloak of whiteness, that armor. It is armor. You don't know if you haven't been on the outside of it. It's not about money. I know people go for, well, I'm broke too, bro. We all broke. That's not what we talking about. That's not what we talking about right now. And I want to be very clear about something. If we have these conversations and they make you uncomfortable, and your visceral reaction is to say, well, I'm broke. I'm just as broke as you are. Right? Yeah, that's the privilege of whiteness. You get to worry about being broke. I got to worry about being broke and then getting shot by police officers for walking down the street while being too black. That's the difference. That is the difference. That is what that shield, that is the shield I'm referring to. Some people don't even know they have it on. Warren, however, absolutely knows she has it on. Absolutely. 100%. 100% knows she has it on. And she's using a different shield where she's actually taking advantage of the political and social climate of today and the hyper identity political nature of the Democratic Party right now. She knows that there's almost nothing that Bernie Sanders can do or say himself to combat the narrative that which he never said. I can guarantee it. I can guarantee it. Bernie has his shortcomings, but this man elevates women so damn often. He elevates women, black women, women of color, more than he elevates any black man ever. He allows other black men to elevate him. That's actually a shortcoming of Bernie. That is a problem discussed with people who have worked for his campaign. If I'm being real, to try and help you all contrast, like what is maybe a legitimate issue, he has a problem with uplifting black men as much as he uplifts black women and women of color. Has always been the case for him, for different reasons. That's not what we're gonna get into right now. But to make the claim that somehow Bernie is sexist is fucking ludicrous. It's ludicrous. But Elizabeth Warren not only am I cloaked in whiteness, but I'm living in the ultimate era of white feminism. I get away with the fuck I want to. And even the progressives who think they have all the answers, I can even fool them too. Watch me do it. She hit y'all with that Soldier Boy. Watch me do it. And she did it. She did it. I want to, first of all, before we go, I want to say thank you all who actually stood by in this chat and actually listened to my personal perspective. I know that, like I said, I know this is an uncomfortable topic. I know people take their politics personally. And I also know that when somebody is pointing something out that makes you uncomfortable, like something out about yourself that is making you uncomfortable, it's very easy to just viscerally react and then unplug immediately, because nobody wants to face things like that. I remember the first time I had a realization of myself, I think I was 23 years old. No, I was like 25, 26 actually. And I'm like, holy shit, I think 99% of all men, and that 99% is with the 2% margin of error, every single one of them have committed sexual harassment and sexual assault, and they don't even know it. You've done it by the time you were in middle school. I guarantee it. The majority of men have done it by the time they were in middle school. And as a man who thought, I thought myself, or I think of myself as a pretty huge ally to the women's equality movement. And so that was hard for me to be like, yo, but I'm such a good, I would never do that consciously. And that's it. I would never do that consciously. But we have been conditioned to believe that some things are acceptable because of who has traditionally conditioned us to allow them to get away with things they should have never been getting away with. Natalie, thanks for the super chat. Love you too, Nat. Appreciate you. I appreciate you. The People United. Preach Rev House. Been waiting for this day for years. Warren finally came out from hiding. Y'all gonna learn today. That's a fact. That's a fact. She finally came out from hiding. She finally came out. Even though I would make the argument that she's already came out, and people, once again, they're acknowledging this. And this is for everybody. I'm glad that if it took going after Bernie for people to wake up to who Elizabeth Warren is, then you know what? That's still a victory. Sometimes to get the championship, I'm a UNC fan. Y'all remember the last time UNC won the championship 2 years ago? Was it 3 years? I think it was 2 years ago. Roughly about 2 years ago. That was the ugliest championship I've ever seen UNC won. That was ugly. Guess what? We still won the championship though. Sometimes it's ugly to get there, but as long as we get there, we can't always have it the way we want to, shooting pretty threes and dunking on everybody. Bethlehem, what's going on? Niko, my husband switched to Tulsi from Bernie after watching her on Jimmy Dore on November 11th. He told me, now I see why you're so crazy about her. Yeah, that tends to happen. Sitting through a full interview with Tulsi, it's very, very difficult to not support her after that. That's for damn sure. And that's not a slight against Bernie. It's just once again speaking to just how intoxicating her genuine nature, and that, like I said, there's just something weird. I say it's weird because it's not normal in American society. You cannot move her from her center. You can not disturb that inner peace that she has somehow achieved, and it is contagious. When you want to get riled up and pissed and angry about shit that happens to Tulsi, people say about Tulsi, I get so mad, and then I'll talk to her, or I'll talk to her sister, and we're talking about campaign shit, and they're talking, I'm like, well, how's Tulsi feel about this? Same way she feels about everybody else and everything else. She's perfectly fine. You know what? She's going to be loving and forgiving and good-natured. She's going to defend herself. She's going to stand up for herself. Don't confuse aloha for weakness, as she said online. But at the same time, even as she's defending herself and even as she's critiquing you, she still believes in the best of you. How many times do you see her try her hardest to appeal to Donald Trump's humanity? She still believes in Donald Trump's humanity. She knows she's going to have to do a lot of digging, do some ego to get there. And she might not ever get there. It might be a never-ending journey to get there. But she still believes in Donald Trump's humanity. In all seriousness. That's just who she is. And it's contagious. She makes you want to pay attention to details more. She makes you look up things that you never would have looked up before. And that's saying a lot for me because I'm a researcher. But that's why I feel like anybody who watches openly and with an open mind a long-form interview of Tulsi, I think that conversion rate is like 2 out of 4 people. 50% of people who watch her with a long, not just cherry pick, oh, I saw this clip and I'm going to watch this and that's what I'm going to talk about for the next 30 days. Nah, those people have bad intentions and they were never going to vote for her anyway. Open-minded people. Oh, God. If you meet her in person, oh, that's it. It's over. If you meet Tulsi's family in person, you're like, man, I'm voting for this woman. Her family is awesome. Anybody whose family is working like that for free, like a dog. V and Abe and their crew work like slaves for Tulsi. And when I say that, I mean like they're putting in so much work with a joyous smile on their face for free. They're actually going in debt to a degree. And you can't tell Vrin Devon that Tulsi Gabbard isn't already the best president in the history of this. You can't tell her sister that. And it's not like if you talking about Maya Harris defending Kamala, it's not the same thing. I'll say, why we gotta vote for Kamala? She'll start telling you about why every other candidate is bad and how her sister's black. And no, that's not like that. It's Tulsi. She'll go down every policy detail of Tulsi. Everything. She'll break it down because she studies her sister like we do. And it's helped her grow even more admiration for her. So meeting her family will make you want to vote for, in person will make you want to vote for Tulsi. Havel Bejum, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed having this conversation today. Not gonna lie, Elizabeth Warren exposing herself has been rather cathartic for the progressive movement, wouldn't you say? I think we needed this. I think we needed this eye opener going into 2020. And I have to give a quick shout out to everyone, and there were a lot of you. Mad respect to those who didn't DM me. They publicly posted comments or tweeted at me saying, Niko, you've been saying this for a year. MCSC Network, you've been saying this for a year. There were people who admitted I was attacking you over this. I was wrong. You were right. Mad props. So shout out to everyone who was, man or woman enough to actually own up. And guess what? That's how we move forward, baby. That's how we move forward. Now I'm not just talking out of my ass. Okay, that's important. I get it. You know that Warren isn't an ally. And I've seen people even reach the realization, they're like, man, I was attacking Tulsi this whole time. This is a quote. I was attacking Tulsi this whole time, thinking that Warren was an ally, and I should have been attacking Warren. What the hell was I thinking? And that's why we had the conversation we had today, because sometimes it is an implicit bias that we don't even know we have. But first, we have to acknowledge that implicit biases exist, and we have to acknowledge this based off of the patterns, and then asking ourselves, well, why do these patterns exist? Because we cannot ignore them if we want to grow. And we saw so many patterns of Warren ignored, while we saw, once again, Booker hyper-scrutinized. We saw Castro hyper-scrutinized. And once again, if you want to ask me objectively, there's absolutely no reason that they should be out the race if Elizabeth Warren was at one point the second most popular person in the race, just polling number 2. There was nothing that Warren offered that made me think, well, I can understand why people think she's more progressive than Cory Booker. Nah, bro. As far as platitudes are concerned, boy, Cory Booker is a platitude extraordinaire. Him and Castro. But for some reason, they were hyper-scrutinized. She was not. Once again, Tulsi, the same people who defended Warren, were attacking Tulsi. Not even attacking her policies, but attacking her character. Disparaging her character. But Warren is likable. 3 people of color, 1 Polynesian, 1 black person, 1 Latino. And out of those 3, 1 progressive, 2 neoliberals. The one who gets mistaken as a progressive and rises in the polls is the white woman. Once again. And there's nothing that either of them, Castro, neoliberal, Cory Booker, neoliberal, Tulsi, progressive, nothing either of them had done was worse than the one thing that we know to be true of Elizabeth Warren, which is that she threw an entire group of people under the bus for her own personal profit. And we, as a progressive movement, that is an asterisk in our movement. That is an asterisk in our movement. We can't pretend like that didn't happen. We cannot pretend like there wasn't at least 50% of the progressive movement who was okay with allowing Elizabeth Warren to throw an entire group of people under the bus. The most oppressed people historically in this country. Slavery is a big deal. I know when I say historically, I mean over time because they were here before us. So I mean, like, it just never stopped. From the moment the settlers got here, it never stopped. And to this day, black people overall are doing much better than indigenous. Although we're still getting gunned down in the street, indigenous women are still being raped. And then because they're on tribal land, they're saying, the judges are saying, oh, well, can't do anything about it. You were on your tribal land. This is what's happening. That is a stain. Now, it is our choice going forward now to learn from it and grow from it. Or are we just going to pretend like it didn't happen? We have to, in my opinion, we got to own that. We got to own that scar. We really do. And I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't one of the ones who celebrated Warren, but I also am not stupid. I'm on Twitter. I'm on social media. I'm in the streets. There was 50% of the movement that was okay with Elizabeth Warren. They call her progressive. Once again, necessarily that would mean you have to at least be okay with what she did with the indigenous. And we can't pretend like that scar doesn't exist. And we should look at that scar forever. We should look at this email that she sent to Bernie Sanders forever. And remember that the next time someone tries to infiltrate our movement, and for some reason, no offense to what my people who got it right, but for some reason is only white people, only the white popular people who have a platform. It was only white people who celebrated her like that. Only, like in the progressive circle, it was only the white ones. And in fact, they even attacked people of color who were mad at the things that she did to people of color. Those are scars that we cannot pretend don't exist in the progressive movement, but now those are scars we can learn from to make sure we do not put our damn hand on the burner again and allow another Elizabeth Warren into our circle. I hope you all enjoyed this segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Thank you for sticking around for all that. I appreciate it. I hope we all learned today. I hope we all grew today. And I hope that more than anything else, going forward, we always remember, find your balance. Peace. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Of course, if YouTube is giving you trouble, as it always does, you can download the Rockfin app and follow us there. Also, if you want to continue to help our show grow, you can help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon and donate as little as $1. Really, anything helps. Other than that, always remember, people, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.